Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. We'll chant the first two shlokas. Sargasthiti pralaya hetumachintya shaktim Vishveshwaram vidita vishwamanantamurtim Nirmukta bandhanam apara sukhamburashim Shrivallabham vimalabodhaganam namami Yasya prasadatahameva vishnuhu Mayyeva sarvam Parikalpitam cha itham vijanami sadatmarupam tasyangri padmam pranatosmi nityam. Okay, and last week we covered verses 10 to 13, so let's go ahead and read those. Gururuvacha Satyamaha bhavanatra viganam naiva vidyate hetuf padartha bodho hi vakyarthavagateriha antakarana tadvritte sakshi chaitanya vigraha anandarupa satyasan Natmanam kim natmanam prapadyase. Satyananda swarupam tisakshinam bodha vigraham chintayatmataya nityam tyaktva dehadigam dhiyam. Rupadimanyatah pindaha tato natma ghatadivata vyadadimahabhuta vikaratvacha kumbhavata. So what had happened is the student in Vakya Vritti said, you are saying tatvam asi, that thou art, but I don't even comprehend the word meanings of this statement. I don't comprehend each word. What is tat? What is tvam? What is asi? What is that? What is you? What is are? I don't comprehend the word meanings. So how am I to comprehend the entire sentence? How can I understand the entire sentence if the words don't make sense to me? So the teacher says, it is true what you said, that we can never understand the complete sentence without first understanding each word. So let me take you through each word. And that's what the teacher starts to do. So what word is he starting with? He's starting with tvam. Tvam means you. You means I. What is our real nature? And in verse 11, he gives 4 different lakshanas, or what we call indicators. First, he says it's antakarana tadvritti sakshi. Sakshi, it is the witness of the thoughts of the mind-intellect equipment. So it is the witness of our thoughts. Second, Chaitanya Vigraha. It is of the nature of pure consciousness. Third, it's Ananda Rupaha, and it is of the nature of bliss. Because, okay, great. So from the witness, I go to pure consciousness, but why should I study all of this? Why should I make an effort? Because it is of the nature of bliss. And is that bliss ending? Will it stop? Is there something that can block it? No, it is Satyaha. It is changeless. It is permanent. It's continuous. It's Sat. So therefore, the teacher says, how come you don't recognize this? This is your nature. You are the witness of your thoughts. And when you remove the thoughts that are witnessed, you are no longer the witness. You are just pure consciousness. And that pure consciousness is the seat of bliss, and it's ever there. There's no time where it was not, and there's no time where it will never be, because it is beyond all concepts of time and space. And then the teacher reiterates that again, and he says, this is who you are in verse number 12. Again, he gives those 4 pointers, in slightly different words. And he says, Chintaya ātmataya, means meditate on yourself this way. And tyaktva deha digam dhyam, let go of all of these notions of I am the body. Just let them go. Now, in that context, before we review verse number 13, there is a commentary of this text, Vakya Vritti. And in that commentary, there are 10 reasons which are pulled from this work of Adi Shankaracharya ji called Dasha Shloki. He gives 10 reasons why that I am the body notion is incorrect. It's a mistake. So I just wanted to iterate those 10 reasons because they're nice and they're pretty deep, and they'll also help us in our spiritual practice. So the first reason he gives is the body is not always with us. It's not always with us, right? It is born at some time. It will die at some time. And, actually, when we go to sleep, we leave our body. That reason again will come. We leave our body. So the body is not always with us, but that awareness is. It's always with us. So the body is coming and going. Second is that I am the body notion is an effect of ignorance. It's a superimposition, right? We superimpose that we are the body. It is just a superimposition because on knowing who we are, this is removed. Once we realize we are the Atman, we are the true self, this I am the body notion, that's removed. So that cannot be true. It cannot be true because it gets removed, it gets negated. And also a side point to this is I was listening to one of our Swaminis, and she said that if you really think about it, right? I am the body. We never had this experience. We never had this experience of I am the body because whenever we say I and we have the body, we're very clear that we're experiencing the body. Right? I'm experiencing the body. I'm experiencing the shape of my body, the height of my body, what's going on with my body. But I never had the experience where I am actually one with the body. I'm always experiencing the body. If we just think deeply about this, just think about this. I never am experiencing I am the body, but I am experiencing the body. So I am never experiencing I am the mind, but I'm actually always experiencing the mind. Huh? So even this notion, we have not actually experienced. We've not experienced it, but we have just not thought about it deeply to understand that we have not experienced it. So thus this I am the body notion, because it gets negated by knowledge, and because we actually have not experienced it, it is false. Then, as I said, again, that point is reiterated, that we leave the body to go to dream and to deep sleep. So when we go to dream, the mind actually leaves the body and takes up another body. So this gross body has no relevance, and we don't take it to the dream state. We definitely don't take our bodies in the dream state, because in dream state we look different, right? We look different. We might look, completely like somebody else. So we don't take this body to the dream state. And then we know, this is reason number 4 now, we know that our body exists because we have some kind of notion here that I have a body, that there is a body. Yeah? So we know that the body exists because there's some kind of objective knowledge of the body. But this objective knowledge is also illumined by the subject, which is consciousness. So therefore, it is false. The objective knowledge is false, and what the objective knowledge pertains to, that is also false. That is also false. So that I am the body, or this body exists, that's only an objective notion which is illumined by the subject. Then he says, the 5th reason, this body is not all-pervading. It's not all-pervading, and we have learned in the scriptures that ātmā, or the self, is all-pervading. It has a limit, right? It is limited to this size and shape and height, weight, etc. Then, reason number 6, the body is an object of experience. So this will also come in and through the text when we study. This is an object of experience. It's experienced, and I am the experiencer. Then, number 7, it's very clear in the scriptures that ātmā, the self, has no birth and no death. So it's very, very clear in our scriptures, in our Upanishads, in our Bhagavad Gita. But this body has a birth and it has a death. And then number 8, the body is in 3 states, meaning the gross body is very evident in the waking state. The subtle body is there in the dream state. And in deep sleep, actually, we don't have any notion of the body. But because we have some kind of experience of a body in waking state and in dream state, because they are also in states, and these states are illumined by consciousness, then the body must be false. Because they exist in these states, and these states are illumined by consciousness. So therefore, the body is false. Then, number 9, it also says in our Upanishads that the self is a source of bliss, right? It is Sat Chit Ananda. But we all know that this body is not the source of bliss all the time, right? It makes us go through so many things. So it is not that. And number 10, this body can appear as one unit or as many units. or a conglomerate of units. But the self is beyond any unit of measure. It's immeasurable. It's beyond any unit. It's unaccountable. So because of all of these reasons, Tyaktva deha digam, like let go of this notion that we are this body. Let go of it. Already so many reasons have been given to us. Already the teacher's been so patient, yet we hold on to it so tightly. So he says, let go and know yourself to be that ātmā. Then further in verse number 13, he said last time that the body is not the self because it's like a pot. It has a form like a pot. So that which has a form cannot be the self because the form again is limited. It's got its own size and shape and arrangement. And that which is a form is an object of experience. Any form is an object of experience, so it cannot be the self. And he says that even this body is also subject to modifications. It is like Vyadadi Mahabhuta Vikaratvat. It is subject to modification because it's made of these elements like space, air, fire, water, earth. And all of these elements keep modifying. So this body is also modifying. And again, anything that's modifying, it will decay and eventually it will result in death. And so therefore it cannot be the ātmā. And anything also that's modifying is an object of our experience. We are aware that it is modifying, it is changing. So for these reasons, the teacher says, let go of this body. But the students now in the next verse says, I want to know it very clearly. You've told me some reasons, but I want to know it very clearly. So we are now in verse number 14. Okay? Shishya vacha anatma yadi pindoyam ukta hetu balan mataha karamalakavat sakshat ātmānam pratipadaya. So the disciples said, Yadi, if this gross body is anatma, is the not self. Yadi ayam pindaha anatma. If this gross body is anatma, by the strength of the mentioned reasons, ukta hetu balat, by the strength of whatever you have said, if this body is the not self, okay, but pratipadaya, please explain, ātmānam, please explain the self, sakshat, directly, please explain the self directly to me, karamalakavat, as a fruit in the hand. So if by the strength of these arguments the gross body is considered as the not self, then explain, please, exhaustively and directly indicate the self as clearly as a fruit in hand. So now here, what the student is really seeking is clarity. And these are the two most important things in the path of this knowledge. One is purity and one is clarity. Purity to be able to absorb the teaching, but clarity to be able to understand it, to see it, to know it, to recognize it. And something can only be truly absorbed, and we can only abide in something when it is free from all doubts. So when a teaching comes and it is completely free from all doubts, and literally we see that teaching so clearly like a fruit in the hand. When you see a fruit in the hand, you'll never doubt. Is it there? Is it not there? What's the size? What's the shape? It's in your hand. You can see every single thing about the fruit. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can taste it, you can do whatever you want with that fruit. And there's no doubt about whether it's here or whether it's not here. There's no doubt about what it is. So in the same way, the student seeks that same clarity. This is an expression in Sanskritam, in our texts. Kara amalakavat. Like in your kara, in your hand, there's an amala. There's a gooseberry fruit. As clear as seeing that gooseberry fruit in the hand, please tell me, what about this self? What about this ātmā? So now here, the guru or the teacher is going to take up all these 4 different indicators of ātmā. So first he said ātmā is a sakshi or the witness. Then it's Chaitanya vigraha or consciousness. It's ananda rupaha, bliss, and it's satya, it is existence, pure being. So he will take each one of these indicators and expound on them so that it becomes kara amalakavat, right? It becomes super, super clear in the palm of the hand. So here now we will see verse number 15. Okay. Gururuvacha, Gururuvacha, Ghatadrashta Ghatadbhinnaha, Ghatadrashta Ghatadbhinnaha, Sarvatha Nagato Yatha, Sarvatha Nagato Yatha, Dehadrashta Tatha Deha, Dehadrashta Tatha Deha, Nahamityavadhāraya, Nahamityavadhāraya. Gururvacha Ghatadrashta Ghatadbhinnaha, Sarvatha Naghato Yatha, Dehadrashta Tatha Deha, Nahamityavadhāraya. So he says, first, verses 15 to 17, what is Sakshi? Ghata drashta. Ghata drashta means the perceiver. Drashta means perceiver, seer. Ghata, ghata of the pot. Ghata drashta, the seer of the pot. Ghatad bhinnaha is different from the pot. So the seer of the pot is different from the pot. Sarvatha, in all ways and always, naghataha, and is not the pot. So the seer of the pot is different from the pot and is definitely not the pot. In the same way, yatha, tatha, deha drashta, the seer of the body, na dehaha, is not the body. The seer of the body is not the body. Na aham iti avadhāraya. I am not this. Avadhāraya, ascertain this. So we take the anything that is seen. Anything that is seen. So we see a book, right? We see a book. So there is something called the seen and there's something called the seer. I am the seer, I am seeing this book, it's the seen. There's a difference here. So the seer is not the seen. The seer and the seen are different, right? This is a book, I am seeing the book, I am different from the book. This is our experience with everything. This is a bottle, I am seeing this bottle, it is seen. I am the seer, so I am different from it. Right? There's a computer in front of me. It is seen. I am the seer. I'm different from it. Clearly, I am not this book. Yes, clear. Clearly, I am not this bottle. And clearly, I am not the computer. Correct? Yes. Now, this body is also seen. You can all see your bodies. And we are the seer, the witness, consciousness, seer. So therefore, if we are the seer and this is seen, how can the seer become the seen? That's just absurd. If the seer never becomes the seen in your whole house, after this class, you look at your whole house. You see the refrigerator, do you become that? You see the table, do you become that? You see the pot, the cooking pot, do you become that? So you look at your whole house. In your whole house, you don't even have to go out. Does the seer ever become the seen? No. Then what made the seer in the body become the seen? What made the seer become the seen body? What happened there? Huh? What happened there is called an error. It's an error because it's absolute logic, and this is your direct experience. You don't have to have faith on this matter. This is your direct experience that the seen never becomes the seer never becomes the seen, right? The computer never becomes me, and I never become the computer. The bottle never becomes me, and I never become the bottle. So, one is the seer is different from the seen. Two is the seer never becomes the seen, and the seen never becomes the seer. And the most beautiful thing, the third one, is the seer is never affected by the seen. It's not affected by the seen, right? So I am seeing my computer. It is a rectangular thing, and it's hard. And I don't become rectangular and hard, right? I'm seeing my computer. I don't become that, right? I'm seeing this bottle. It's orange and tall and hard. I don't become that. So because we don't become that, we're not affected by that. We're not affected by what happens in the seen realm. So here is the pot is different from the seer of the pot is different from the pot, and never the pot. The seer of the body is different from the body, and never the body. Now, in my daily life, I might not say, that I am the body. I might not go out and strut about and say, I'm the body, I'm the body. But I do say, I'm a man, or I'm a woman, or I'm a parent, or I'm a child, or I'm a sibling. I do take up all of these identities. And all of these identities, all of these characteristics, they're based on the notion that I am the body. So while I might not go out and proclaim I am the body, I definitely go out and say, oh, I look fat, or I look thin, or I look tired, or, I am the mother of so-and-so, or the father of so-and-so. I definitely do that. And that is based on I am the body. So the teacher says, see this clearly. See it very clearly, like a amalaka fruit. Like an amalaka fruit in your hand. See it, but don't only see it. Avadhāraya. Avadhāraya, this word will keep coming again and again in the next few verses. Avadhāraya means ascertain it. Ascertain it. Now that you've understood it without any doubt. This is the beautiful thing about Vedanta is nobody's asking you to have faith on anything. We're just telling you, look at your experience. This is your experience. Just look at it deeply. You're already experiencing this. So you really don't need that much faith in Vedanta. We need faith that the teacher will guide us, the Shastra will guide us. We need that much faith. But when we get to the teaching, it's an absolute fact only. It's an absolute fact. So, avadhāraya, ascertain it. And here in the book, on page 58, I'm just going to read one paragraph that Puja Gurudev writes. It's very beautiful. On page 58, the third paragraph, it says, the teacher has to very persuasively guide the seeker through logical arguments and set him firmly on the path of contemplation. This is a delicate operation, and the gracious teacher, with his loving sensitivity, accomplishes this miracle or transformation of intellectual thinking into an easy, effortless, contemplative gliding. So this is what has to happen. Our intellectual thinking has to transform into contemplative gliding. This is the mananam to nididhyasanam. Mananam is that intellectual thinking. Nididhyasanam is that contemplative gliding. So this is what Adi Shankaracharya means by avadhāraya. Make that manana, that reflection, a nididhyasana, a contemplation. Right? Now, somebody might ask the question, okay, I am understanding the body, but what about my sense organs? What about my mind? What about my pranas? What about them? Are they different from me? Are they the same as me? So now, verse number 16. Evamindriyadringnaham indriyani nischinu mano buddhistatha pranaha nahamityavadhāraya evamindriyadringnaham indriyānīti nischinu mano buddhistatha pranaha nahamityavadhāraya. So he says here, evam, in the same way, indriya drik. Indriya drik means the seer of the senses. I am the seer of the senses, and aham na indriyani, and I am not the senses, right? So I am the seer of the senses, I am indriya drik, and na indriyani, I am not the senses. Nischinu, be sure about that. So the teacher is saying, be sure about that. Be sure that I am the seer of the senses and not the senses. Mano buddhihi, the mind and intellect, pranaha and pranaha, similarly. Means I am the seer of the mind and intellect and the pranas, and I am not it. Iti avadhāraya. This you ascertain. So similarly, be sure in yourself that you, the seer of the senses, are not the senses. Ascertain that you are neither the mind nor intellect nor prana. So the same logic we apply, that the senses are an object of our experience. We experience our senses. They are experienced, right? Seen, experienced. We are the experiencer. So because we are the experiencer, the senses are experienced, right? I'm using the word experienced here because we don't directly see the senses, right? We don't directly see the senses. We know them through our mind. So the senses are experienced. We are the experiencer. Therefore, we are different. And we are very much aware of the conditions of our senses. Like the eyes might be dry, my eyesight may be fading, I may be nearsighted, I may be farsighted. When we go to the doctor and they test our eyesight, we're very much aware of what's happening with our eyes. We're very much aware of what's happening with our breath, our sense of taste. We are very much aware of these things. What's happening with our ear. Sometimes when we're on the plane and there's takeoff and landing, the ear gets, we get stuck here. So we're the experiencer, and these things are experienced. So experiencer never becomes the experienced. An experienced never becomes the experiencer. And when the eyes, they are nearsighted, farsighted, when they're doing all of that, and I'm aware of it, I don't become nearsighted or farsighted, correct? If my eyes need glasses, do I put glasses on my mind? No, right? So whatever is happening here in the realm of the senses is not affecting me. It's not affecting me. Same way, the mind is experienced. Mind is experienced. I am the experiencer. Many people ask, how do you know that there is something called ātmā, or the self? How do you know? Right? Just tell me, without all of these scriptures, without anything, just tell me, how do you know there's actually something called ātmā? Very simple. Are we aware of our thoughts? What is that awareness which is aware of thoughts? That is called ātmā. That is called ātmā. It's that simple. It's that simple. And that is something that you yourself can recognize. Right? These thoughts are always moving. They're moving. Actually, the thoughts, the mind, all the mind is the thoughts bundled up together. Yeah? There's actually nothing called mind per se, because if you think about it, let us say there is a crowd of people. The crowd of people is nothing but all individuals there together. Correct? So that crowd, what you call crowd, is a concept. Without the individual, there's no actual crowd. That crowd is a concept. The same way, this mind is a concept. It's a concept because all it is these thoughts bundled up together. That's called mind. And when the thoughts are spaced out, in those moments, there's no mind. And when there's a thoughtless state, then there's absolutely no mind. So I, that Atman, am aware of my thoughts, be them, even if they're bundled up, I'm aware of my bundled up thoughts. I am also aware of the little space between thoughts. If there is little space, I'm aware of the little space between thoughts. And I'm also aware if there's a big space between thoughts. And I'm also aware if there are no thoughts. Oh, what a wonderful thing. So therefore, I am that Atman. I am that self. I am not the thoughts. I am that which is the experiencer, the illuminator, the seer. All of these things are seen. All of these things are experienced. All of these things are an object to my awareness, or object to awareness. Therefore, I cannot be that. I cannot be that. So I cannot be the senses. They're an object of my experience. I cannot be the pranas. I'm also very much aware of my pranas. I cannot be that mind, because as I just explained, I am that awareness which illumines mind or no mind. Therefore, all of this is different from me. Iti avadhāraya. Just ascertain this. Ascertain this. Think about it, and directly see it. Directly recognize it. Am I aware of my thoughts? Therefore, I am not my thoughts. Finished. There is a deeper awareness that's there. That I am. That I am. So this, he wants us to get this much clarity so that slowly, slowly we can just abide in this. Just abide in this and let this sink in. Okay? Now, here, the next question is, the student asks in his mind, in her mind, okay, you're not the body, not the mind, not the intellect, not all of that, but can you be this whole conglomerate? Can I be this whole conglomerate or assemblage? Can I be this? So the teacher also removes that doubt. You cannot be that. He removes that doubt in verse number 17. Sanghatopi tatha naham, Sanghatopi tatha naham, iti drishya vilakshanam, iti drishya vilakshanam, drashtaramanumānena, drashtaramanumānena, Nipunam sampradhāraya, Nipunam sampradhāraya, Sanghatopi tatha naham, iti drishya vilakshanam, drashtaramanumānena, Nipunam sampradhāraya. So Sanghataha means this whole conglomerate, this whole association of the body, the mind, the senses, the intellect, this whole thing. Assemblage. Api tatha na aham. I am also not that. Drishya vilakshanam. Because they are seen. They are seen. Drashtaram, and they are different from the seer. The seer is different from the seen. Because the seer is different from the seen, I cannot be that. Anumanena, by inference, nipunam, intelligently, sampradhāraya, be sure. So similarly, be sure that you are not the complex of the gross and subtle bodies. Intelligently determine by inference that you, the seer, are entirely distinct from the seen. So one may doubt, right? Like if you have a house, there's a couch, there's a wall, there's a table, there's a chair. But when you say house, it's all of these things together. So we said, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm not the prana, but I'm this entire assemblage. That's a different concept. Could I actually be that? And the answer is no, we cannot actually be that. It's not that this whole assemblage comes together and produces consciousness. It's nothing like that. This whole assemblage is nothing but this body, this mind, this intellect, this pranas, and all of them are an object of our experience. All of them are seen. All of them are experienced. Therefore, we cannot be that. We cannot be that. And he says, no, for certain, you are different from that. Now here it says, anumanena, by inference, meaning by logic, but also take a deeper step. See this, the logic that we see in Vedanta, first one level is the objective logic. Objective logic that the seer is different from the seen. And we get this logic. But make it into a subjective actualization. So the logic is the seer is different from the seen. Subjective actualization, I am different from the body. See that. See that. Objective inference is the seer never becomes the seen. Like I never become the refrigerator in my home. Logic. Again, actualize that subjectively. I then can actually never become the body or become the mind. So that the place of logic is only to make us turn our minds to the subjective actualization of it. Because Vedanta is beyond logic. It has to come to an actual realization, actual recognition. That's the work of the student. That's the work that we have to do on our own. Nobody else can help us to actualize. All the logic can be presented, all the examples, everything can be presented. But to really hone it in, that's what we have to do. And therefore, all of these words, avadhāraya, ascertain, nishchinu, be sure, sampradhāraya, be sure, all of these words are there to tell us that this is what we have to do. This is our task. Now, one more point that I want to bring here is when somebody comes to Vedanta, in the beginning, they're a little bit disappointed because there's so many problems that they're facing in the ego level, personality level, right? Let us say Shubhani level. I'm experiencing so many problems. And we come to Vedanta and they say, okay, you are experiencing problems because of this ego. This ego has taken up this ego has identified with the body, mind, intellect, has become the doer, has become the enjoyer, and it's going through samsara, and all of the things are happening. But no, your real nature is that pure consciousness. So when we come to Vedanta, it's almost like the student is like, well, tell me what to do for my ego, right? I'm telling you, I'm suffering, I'm going through all of this. And Vedanta is saying, question your very ego. Know that you are not the ego, you're something greater. So that is the solution of Vedanta. Vedanta's solution is not to fix the ego. So if there are ego problems, we have to resort to karma yoga and bhakti yoga and even raja yoga. In this realm, in Vedanta, the solution here is not fixing the ego per se, it's actually questioning the very existence of that ego. So this is where Vedanta comes in. Now, but somebody might say, okay, I question the existence of the ego. I know that I'm pure awareness. I know I'm pure consciousness. But at the level of the ego, there are still some issues. Not a problem. At the level of the ego, we should still do what we need to do, right? But when we understand that the ego is false, it's illusory, then instead of the problem looking like this big, it appears so small, like so tiny, so small, so apparent that it becomes so much easier to fix because it doesn't bog me down or blow me away. That's the purpose of Vedanta. The purpose of Vedanta and the purpose of why we are just kind of pulling ourselves away from this is to raise ourselves to greater heights and look at whatever's happening from there. And we look at it from a higher height, everything appears so small. And when everything appears so small, then it's just easier to work with it. It's just easier to do it, right? The body is going to go through incredible amounts of pain and incredible amounts of changes and all of that. It's going to happen. But if I look at it from this higher standpoint, that I am that pure awareness, then it becomes easier to deal with it. I know that this will happen, this is its nature, this is what it will go through. If death happens, right? Again, Vedanta raises us to a level. Okay, this is where you are, this is who you are, and this is an event in life. It's a happening. Now deal with it from that perspective. And we will have much more clarity and ability to deal with anything that comes our way. This is the path of Vedanta. So this is the path that we're treading on. Okay? Now, the student now has more questions. And the teacher has finished explaining what sakshi is, the witness. In verses 18 to 23, he's going to take up what is pure consciousness, what is Chaitanya Vigraha. Huh? So those verses we will start next week, so that we can club them all together, kind of, right? But for today, I'll just summarize a few key points and then we will close. So a few key points today is that the student is aiming for clarity, right? The student wants to see this teaching so incredibly clear so that it's very easy to abide in it. And so the teacher begins then by saying, okay, let me tell you this teaching. You are not the body because you are the seer of the body. And the seer of the body cannot be the body. The seer and the seen are different. The seer never becomes the seen. The seen never becomes the seer. And the seer is not affected by the seen. So you cannot be the body, and you yourself see it, right? And we also saw those 10 reasons which were given to us in the commentary. Can I be the mind, intellect, pranas? Can I be the sense organs? Use the same logic. The seer, the experiencer cannot be that which is experienced. Experiencer is always different from that which is experienced. And how do I know that I'm truly Sakshi? There's truly something like Sakshi? Very simple. Are you aware of your thoughts? That which is aware of your thoughts, that is Sakshi. Just go there. That is Sakshi. That much, right? And all of us have had that experience. All of us. I'm very sure all of us. We might have had a minute of it or 2 minutes of it. The key in meditation is to have sustained awareness of it. Sustained awareness of awareness. I have to use these words, but to have that sustained awareness. That's the key in meditation, so that we can see it outside and we never forget. We never forget our real nature. So I am not the body, mind, intellect, pranas. What about this whole assemblage? This whole assemblage also, I am not that. And in all of these things, avadhāraya, be firm with it. Turn that inferential logic to an actual subjective realization. That then is Vedanta. Okay, so we'll say the closing prayer. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.